Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Chamber of Commerce's Local Issues Forum featuring our City Commission candidates.
With that, we will begin with opening statements, starting first.
Good evening. I want to first thank the Chamber for hosting us and for all of you for attending tonight. I'm Bob Glenn. I am in my fifth term as a City Commissioner, but I served for 3 terms and then had a break and came back. I think it's an honor and a privilege to serve you in this role, and I think we're generally as a team doing a good job. I thoroughly enjoyed working with Sharon over the last year. I'm a retired educator from Owensboro Community and Technical College. I taught communication, so I got to build the dreams and future of a lot of students, including one sitting in front of me. And so as a consequence of that, I think this is a great community to live, raise a family, and in my case now retire. I want to keep moving our community forward. My wife is a retired teacher. Our son is a firefighter for the city of Owensboro. Our daughter is a nurse. I've been heavily involved in the community. I'm on a number of boards and committees as well. I've served 3 terms on the Chamber Board. And I'm also a member of the Lions, Davis County Imagination Library, formerly chair of the Neblett Center Board, member of Crossroads, and currently St. Benedict's. I think the most important thing is that we have to take a step back and realize how lucky we are. This is a shining city on a river. Other communities and regions are looking at Owensboro and going, wow, that's a great community. Wish I lived there. Wish my business were there. And we're beginning to see that. So I'm looking forward to leading our community for another 2 years if you give me that opportunity, and I am blessed and thankful for the opportunity to have had that time up to now. Thank you.
If you had to name one issue that motivated you to run for office, what is it, why is it important to you, and what ideas do you have to address it as City Commissioner?
I think the biggest issue is what I said earlier, and that is we in 2013 were recognized as an all-American city. In my view, we're still an all-American city, but an all-American city by its definition has overcome challenges, and we've got 3 big challenges we need to address in our community that I want another term to address. One is affordable housing. The second is homelessness. I know you said one, but I got to cheat. And then finally, basically, we're also looking at the gun violence issue. Those are not easy solutions. You don't just push a button and solve those problems. But I think this commission's done a great job in terms of affordable housing. We work with Habitat for Humanity on numerous collaborations, including now an entire neighborhood and collaborating with the county. We're moving forward in that area. Homelessness is an issue we need to work with our stakeholders that address and serve that population, because it's got to be addressed for the health of our community and for the health of those people who are our brothers and sisters in need. So I'm looking forward to addressing those 3 issues. And when we do, we will again affirm that we are an all-American city.
A safe city is something that Owensboro residents expect and tout when we talk about our quality of life. However, shootings and violent crimes are being reported at an increasing rate within the city limits. What can be done in Owensboro to reverse this trend so that we can continue to promote our community as safe to economic development prospects, people considering moving here, and tourism groups? Thank you. Commissioner Glenn.
Well, I think we're already addressing it in the sense OPD just had a massive drug bust that was across 4 states. I think that's going to help and address part of that, because clearly it's fueled by drugs and gangs. The other issue is young people have to have a pathway to hope. And we have a lot of good organizations in our group. We were at the Boys and Girls event last night. They do great work. The Western Academy at the Neblett, Breaking the Cycle, Girls Inc. do great work. We as a commission have supported their efforts and will continue to do so, because we see them as a pathway, a conduit to getting young men and young women away from drugs, away from a life of crime. The other is we need to use city facilities to address that. I've talked to Jeff Esposito about the Sportsplex. I don't want that thing used just for visitors on the weekends. I want our young people to have access to it during the week for productive activities like basketball leagues, volleyball leagues, whatever they want to be involved in. And Jeff has confirmed that that will be a possibility. So that's where we need to go. The key is we are addressing the issue, but you're absolutely right. A good community begins with safety.
Smith, thank you. Greater Owensboro has both a city and county government. City residents pay property taxes not only to the city but also to the county, and therefore it is crucial for both to work together cohesively. What is your view of the current state of the city-county cooperation, and how would you, as commissioner, work to create strong relationships with the fiscal court? Thank you. Commissioner Glenn.
Yes, I think the county and city and the state, our stakeholders, need to work together in everything. That's how we move projects forward, like the Interstate 165 corridor that we now have and benefit from between here and Bowling Green. I have good relationships with the county. I've talked to Charlie periodically. Two of my colleagues in the room here, Commissioner Condor and Commissioner Castlin, know that I'm not afraid to talk to them at all. In fact, we've even had lunch a few times. Chris and I have. I think the biggest thing is we have to be on the same page. And at least for the first year of the new administration, we were not on the same page in terms of EDC, River Park, and to a lesser extent, annexation. And so as a consequence, I think we've moved away from those sort of hot button issues. I think EDC, we've reached a point now where they've renewed their support. River Park, same thing. So I think we're moving in the right direction. But I really admire our county representatives on the fiscal court. They're good people. They work hard for our community. And I think together, speaking one voice, we're going to continue to succeed.
Issues such as housing, homelessness, mental illness, and substance abuse have reached crisis levels in most communities and has certainly increased here in Owensboro. Owensboro is deeply fortunate to have mental health providers and nonprofits who are leading in this space, but the scope of these issues requires all of us at the table. What should city government's role be in attempting to address these Herculean issues that are hurting our families and adversely impacting our economic growth?
Well, I think the first is you bring up a good point, Jared, and that is this is a national problem. I visited Anchorage, Alaska, and Honolulu, Hawaii. They're going through the same thing we are, particularly in those areas where there's a lot of veterans with mental health issues in those two states. The biggest issue that we look at is, of course, homelessness. I've already talked about our development work that Abby is doing in terms of redeveloping neighborhoods and some of the additional housing built there, our work with Habitat for Humanity. I think we have a good relationship with Harry Pedigo and Patino and St. Benedict's Shelter and the other facilities. I think the biggest thing is we need to decide in terms of homelessness and mental illness, do we go with a temporary place that these people can live, like a facility, an encampment, or do we look at just building affordable housing and getting them in there? And the rapid rehousing model that Harry Pedigo and I have talked about, because I'm on the St. Benedict's board, appears to be the pathway to go. It's a nationally approved pathway, and I think that's where the city needs to invest its dollars and support in the future, because you get people off the street, and then after you get them off the street in housing, you get them help. You get them help with drug addiction, you get them help with mental health issues.
Thank you. Being a city commissioner is a part-time role, but in order to be effective, it's important to put the time in to connect with the general public. It's also important to spend time with your fellow commissioners, the mayor, and city staff. How many hours a week do you intend to dedicate to city business, and how will you make yourself accessible to your constituents as well as your colleagues?
Great question.
Yes, I have, prior to this year, always had a full-time job, but it being retired this last year, I've had more time, but I have always found time. I've attended hundreds of community events. I average about 5 a week. I answer phone calls, written messages, and everything else. I kind of will echo Jeff in that sense. You're always on call when you're a commissioner. And I love that, because if we're not willing to talk to our elected officials, and that's the great thing about being a city commissioner or being mayor, you're the most accessible person in town to solve their problems. And that's what's great. We're not the President of the United States. We're not a U.S. Senator. We can help solve your problems today, this week, next month. And I've always tried to address that. I consider this, as I said before, a tremendous honor and privilege to serve our community. So I put in as much time in terms of research, attending meetings, and everything else to get the job done, and I'll continue to do that.
Our city occupational tax rate is at an all-time high, as is our net profits tax rate, disproportionately burdening businesses and wage earners. There's a statewide initiative advocating for local home rule so cities like Owensboro can have other revenue options, giving us the opportunity to improve our quality of life and lower the tax rates on businesses and wage earners. As city commissioner, how would you work to ensure that our state moves forward with local tax options for Owensboro? Commissioner Glenn.
I think we've generally, this commission has been excellent stewards of our money. I think we've gotten a lot of bang for our buck. When you look at the York Flood Control Project, you look at the investment in the Sportsplex, which, as Sharon noted, is funded exclusively through the bed tax. You can't spend money on anything but tourism-related investments through that bed tax. And that was a liberalization of home rule in action. We were given that option. We're not allowed to do a restaurant tax, and I'll be honest, I don't want a restaurant tax. I think that would harm middle-class families in this community. We've lowered property taxes. Very recently, we lowered property taxes. So I would just say to you that if there are opportunities to lower taxes, we will. will. But keep in mind, recessions, changes in our economic fitness. The city has never been in better financial shape during my time on the commission. We are in great financial shape. But we have to be wary of the state is getting rid of the income tax. That's coming down the pike. That's going to affect cities and counties. It's going to affect all of you because you're going to pay retail taxes in exchange. So we need to be aware of that. You can't just get up here and say, well, we're going to cut taxes, because that would potentially be irresponsible.
Thank you. Part of community leadership is participating in service roles in many aspects of life. Could you tell us about one specific area of community service that you have undertaken that demonstrates your passion for giving back?
I've been involved or supported probably at least 25 different nonprofits, the various events that they've had, but probably in terms of being a commissioner, the organization I've got the most benefit from and the best insight was when I was chair of the Seven Hills Neighborhood Alliance many years ago, as well as being chair of the Neblett Center Board. Neighborhood alliances are important. I really want to recognize Rafe's incredible work as a neighborhood alliance chair with Northwest. He's one of the best we have. And I would just say the neighborhood alliances allow the average citizen who's terrified of coming up here and dealing with us. We might be a bit intimidated. You can go to a neighborhood alliance meeting and complain about a sidewalk or a road or a safety issue. The other is we got a lot done. We were able to upgrade a sign in our neighborhood for emergency services so you can see where Trinity Hills is. We organized a lot of good, positive community events. And so I would say I've supported the neighborhood alliances, and I want to continue to see them grow and evolve, because I think that is probably one of the best things that the city of Owensboro does for its citizens, and vice versa.
What citizens are we not effectively serving in our community, and how can we better involve all people? Thank you. Commissioner Glenn.
Well, I would say that the two groups we haven't mentioned that we're probably doing a less than stellar job communicating with are the LGBTQ community and immigrants. We lovingly brought in all these Afghan refugees, and I've got two in my class at KWC, and I can tell you they're doing a great job in the classroom, but I don't think they feel socially or emotionally supported to the degree they could if we looked at services and programs along with the refugee center here that will help them. The other is the demonization of people who are members of the LGBTQ community. I've worked with people who are members of that community. They are owners of businesses in our community. They are not our enemies. They're our friends, they're our neighbors, they're our brothers, they're our sisters, they're our colleagues, and we need to reach out to them and indicate we care about them and they should have a place at the table in this community at every facet. So in my mind, if I'm given another term, those are two groups we definitely need to reach out to and have better communication.
And that concludes the question portion of tonight's forum. We will end with closing statements from each of the candidates. You will have 60 seconds to make your closing remarks. Thank you. Commissioner Glenn.
Yes. As I said before, we have a lot to be proud of in Owensboro. We just brought in over 600 new jobs in the last 2 months, including the huge expansion at Swedish Match. This commission has done major flood control, sidewalk, and street repair projects with your tax dollars. We're building a sportsplex, a new pickleball facility. We're working on the second wave of development downtown. We're doing a lot of positive things. But we have to keep our eye on the ball, and that is, yes, do we have challenges? Every city has challenges. We need to address the affordable housing crisis, and we are, as I said earlier. We need to address homelessness, and we're working with nonprofits to do that, but we need to do more. And then finally, we need to address and make this community attractive so young families and young college graduates will stay here. When we do that, we'll again win the mantle that I think we already have and are defending champ of being an all-American city. And again, it's an honor and a privilege to serve you in this role.
Encourage everyone watching at home and everyone here tonight to please go vote on November the 5th. I'll hand it back.